The Porsche 911. It's on a lot of people's big lists. It's accessible, it's easy to drive, and well, it looks good pretty much everywhere. This is the 992.2 generation Carrera S. It's got brakes from the fearsome GTS, a little bit more power, and some extra glitz over the base model. I'm Alex Goy, you're watching Driven, and today we're going to find out whether more is necessarily better. The Porsche 911 lineup is both big and confusing, but that does mean there's a car for everyone in there. So you can have a base one with silly power, the S like this, with even sillier power. You can have a hybrid one, you can have all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, various roof configurations, and even some big silly wings. The S though is the one you go for when you want a bit more grunt, but still want to keep things pure.
Purity is an odd duck in the 911 world. You could argue that the GT3s with their naturally aspirated engines and manual box options keep the old engine rear drive lightness ethos as close to the original concept as possible. Or the base Carrera perhaps, though you can't have that with a stick. The base car gets near as damn it 390 horses though, which is less than you get in an AMG A class.
Yeah, I know it's all about how the car drives, not about outright power, but sometimes top trumps is a fun game to play, alright? And if you want a dose of that purity, if you want a little bit extra thrill in your life, and you want to be able to stare down the youth in their AMG at the traffic lights, the S is the one for you.
Time for some specs. In the rear is a 3-litre turbocharged flat 6 with a frankly silly 480 horses and 391 pound-foot. You can dispatch 62 miles an hour in 3.3 seconds with the Sport Chrono pack fitted, which makes it a hair quicker than the GT3. You'll top out at 191 miles an hour as well, which seems plenty. You can spec rear steer to sharpen handling up, but that costs nearly £2,000. That said, the Carrera S's starting price is £120,500, and it's a Porsche, which means nearly everything costs money. £2,000 at that point looks like a rounding error.
Let's talk about the concept of purity, shall we? Does that mean lightweight, modest power and nothing to distract from the thrill of the drive? Well, in which case you're talking about a Caterham. Even a 911 GT3 has a stereo. So what about the idea of keeping it as close to the car's roots as possible? Well, everything is in the right place. It does look like a 911, but it's a lot bigger, it's a lot heavier, it's got airbags, and then, well, all the power.
I jest about the base car not being quite as grunty as an AMG A-Class, but is it my advancing years, or am I weird in thinking that 480 horsepower in a 911 that doesn't have turbo in the name is a bit much? Nearly 500 horsepower is more than anyone needs, and more than most people will know what to do with. Can you have such ballistic power and maintain a deftness of drive, or is it a hammer of a thing?
Porsche's steering is always just fantastic. You feel it in your fingers, the cliche is true, and the way the rear hunkers down when you give it power out of a corner, and well, the way it just gently moves the weight, you can feel it, especially when you haven't got loads of grunt on board. Porsche's really good at the light touch. Let's see how good that light touch actually is then, shall we? Carrera S, you are here to be judged. The thing is, I've been using this as like a car to get around in. I've done about 250 odd miles in it so far, and it's done a respectable, with some silly driving today, 23 miles to the gallon. For something like this with this much power, that's genuinely impressive. Now, the drive. There are plenty of drive modes to play with. In normal, which is what most people will use, it rides wonderfully. You get just the right amount of noise, a bit of six-pot howl, but not loads and loads. It's not intrusive. Now, the ride itself, it can be a little on the firm side, but this isn't a Range Rover, this is a Porsche 911. The brakes are massive, and oh my god, do they work. If you need to go from very quickly to not very quickly in no time at all, it'll manage that. The 8-speed PDK is, well, it's an 8-speed PDK, where the tech used to be unproven. Now it's just perfect every time. You pull a paddle and up you go, pull a paddle down you go, give it the beans and the box will work out what you want to do and just do it for you. However, there are other modes to play with. Sport Plus is too much for UK roads. It makes the suspension really lumpy bumpy and quite unpleasant. If you're on a racetrack, yeah, fine, use that. But otherwise, Sport is where it's at, because you get the noise. It feels a bit more aggressive, but your spine doesn't hate you for it. The harder springs, really not for me. The glory of the 911 really is, though, it can be both cars in one. At no point doing boring motorway stuff I thought, oh god, this is such a slog, this is the worst thing in the world. Porsche does it so well, and it's been doing it so well for such a long time. It's a glorious thing. So when you do find yourself on a nice twisty road on your own, and you have all the faith in the world that it's definitely going to make the corner, and you know exactly what's happening, and if it does start to feel a little squirrely, you can rein it in easily, because Porsche's designed these things so the likes of you and I can just get on with having fun, and it rewards you for having fun. The more you gel with it, the more time you spend with it, the more you can exploit it and learn to get the best out of it. Now, this isn't one of the GT cars. It's not got pops and bangs and silly wings and nonsense like that. So it does feel a bit more relaxed. You get the noise, but it doesn't spur you on too hard unless you're properly giving it a kicking. It's weirdly relaxing, especially with this brown interior. My back doesn't hurt. These seats are comfy. I don't feel like I'm penned in a sort of wannabe race car. This is a daily, and it's brilliant at being a daily, but it's a daily that can do more than 190 miles an hour while playing bark at you at full volume, and you'll be able to hear it crystal clear. It's absolutely glorious.
A cynic would say the Carrera S is no more than a base car with more grunt, with angrier snails attached to the motor, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's something more. But I also wonder whether people will pick it for the right reason.
There are a lot of snobs out there. The type of person that when you say, oh, I've got a Porsche, they ask you which one, and if you say a Boxster or a Cayman, they'll look down their noses at you. Or if you say a 911, and if it's not a turbo or a GT3 or even a GTS, they'll give you the same stink eye. The Carrera S will kind of work for them because you still get some of that purity, some of that simplicity, the joy you get with the base car, but it's just a step above.
Is it an excuse for snobs? Is it a car that gives a bit more, or is it a gap that Porsche needed to plug because it knew people would buy it? Incidentally, Porsche reckons that about 30% of buyers will go for the Carrera models, while around half will grab a GTS. That's quite a gap.
So is more always better? Well, yes and no. Yes, because the power in this thing is epic and silly and needless, but it is absolutely brilliant fun. But also no, because as I age, I'm coming to the opinion that if you feel like you need loads more power to be a better driver, you're probably not as tasty behind the wheel as you think you are. But hey, who am I to judge? You can be as pure or not as you like, so long as you're having fun.